is we were pointing this out at the opening, the only flowers that are in the show. And usually flowers are sort of a symbol for beauty. Diane Feucht's, these, it must be pointed out, are all painted. None of this is collage. Part of Diane Feucht's wonder that creates the awe is that the fact that her technique is so incredible. You know, that in itself becomes gives you the idea of the same reaction as what comes with the beauty, that like inhalation of breath. This is John Noestheden at the end. John Noestheden is also from Regina, and John and his partner Kate Davis is the director of the Norman Mackenzie Gallery in Regina. These three are called mirror details. These are actually sections of the Milky Way, and he as taken from the Hubble spacecraft, the Hubble telescope. Now, this particular form of technology is constantly changing. So what his work is about is not only related to the stars and the star systems, which he almost always does, but also to the idea that this information is coming in from a distance. It's already finished in terms of it being information. What is information? So in these, he's set out with two squares that represent patches. He says that he's a representational artist, not an abstract artist. These represent patches of the Milky Way. In each one of these, he's ensured that each crystal touches another crystal on only two sides. And that gives the proper amount of black to represent what is like in the Milky Way. His setup is extraordinary. He's got this absolutely white room with steel tables with kind of rolling arms on them, with the little dish of Swarovski crystals and the little dab of glue that he's got, the long pinchers that he dips it in and then puts it in place. John Torreano is a New York artist. John, I met through New York University. John is probably within this show the person that has the most prestigious reputation in America. He's had a solo show at the Museum of Modern Art. He does not only these pillars with the embedded gems, but he also does huge paintings. And he too always relates to the skies and to the sky systems. And interestingly enough, John Noestheden, when he understood that John Torreano was part of the show, was very excited because he had always looked to John Torreano in terms of his own work. This is Khaled Mansour in conjunction with Rui Pimenti. And Khaled has worked, he's done a lot of work with plastics and constructions. He actually, as well, has spent a significant amount of time in New York where he was doing the display cases for the Whitney. And then I think that in his practice, he's involved in the fabrication that also has a very architectonic sense of construction to it. These are Johann Feught. Johann Feught has primarily been known as a printmaker. He teaches at UBCO in British Columbia, and his printmaking technique, which he calls holographs, utilize only, say, inks. He's actually devised this technique. These four that we have right here, Act 1 to Act 4, are extremely low editions. You'll see they're just editions out of 4. And I included his work within the show because of the fact that he deals in two ways that connect with the traditional aesthetic of beauty. And one is, in the sense, we have a feeling here that comes a little bit close to the stained glass windows of the churches. And also, he really defines within his picture play that ecclesiastical space. Heidi Thompson is from the Okanagan, and Heidi was here for the opening. She traveled here for the opening. She is a Vipassana meditator, and Heidi has come through. She was at one time doing work that was much more figurative, Actually, she was using a lot of the work from the Middle Ages, very sophisticated figurative work. she has gradually come to the point where she wants to create an experience. So she sets up her canvases with the many layers of paint, usually in a good size so that you can have the color field experience, that sense that if you're looking at it, your field of vision can be fairly encompassed in the sensate experience of the color. And it's with the idea of being able to talk about what it is to have a deeper understanding of oneself through meditation and a place of silence where there's no longer formed thoughts, but just the idea of being. And then Ortansa Moraru, who will be doing the workshop following this talk and the tea. Ortansa's work, where is Ortansa? Here she is. This is Ortansa Moraru. Ortansa's work it comes into beauty from a different aspect, once again, and it's in the class within the form of cultural beauty, because it has a lot of overlays. The fact that it's on the pristine snow white paper, it's really got that sense of just a fine object. The fact that her workmanship as well carries through that sense of the fine object, of the great craftsman. And also that the imagery is very layered. And I liked it, she calls them nests, and uses nests as her references. And in the building of them, she relates to something that brings to mind the complexity of the subconscious. There's something about them that feels like it's submerged, that there's something subterranean that's being brought out. And I think that one of the aspects of our being, which is so very precious, of course, is the fact that we are cognizant beings. And then last but certainly not least is Jim Ruxton's piece and Camille Turner. Jim Ruxton has a master in engineering, and Camille Turner comes from a fine arts background. Camille did the fabric part of the piece. Camille she's involved in a lot of performance art, and she is Miss Canadiana. She was at the opening. Camille, as Miss Canadiana, is a very tall and elegant black woman, and her going all over the world as Miss Canadiana speaks about the fact that when you think of what your idea of the Canadian is, it's not necessarily who you think Miss Canadiana is. So, and she deals with beauty in another kind of a way with her performance pieces and the idea of the beauty pageant. But also, she has, as a fabric artist, set up the piece with this real wonderful sense of feeling to it. There's little hairs coming off of the pods, and she's actually combed them once we set it up. In listening to what people's reaction was to this piece, it was interesting because people go into it and they walk around with it, and probably 1 out of 3 times they say, they think it's responding to my body. And the answer is no, it's not responding to your body. But you, with your body, are responding to it. And you, in such a way that you actually think your body is activating it, which is interesting. And it's actually programmed, and you can read in the catalog a more succinct description of how it's programmed, to imitate a natural system of synchronized movement that will never repeat itself, as in nature it doesn't repeat itself. So that, I think, brings to the end what I'm able to say about all of this, except that we have a very nice catalog produced by the Varley, and this is it. And it's at the front desk, and if you want, you can get a copy of it. And in here you'll find a lot of what I've been talking about today, but in a much more articulate and concise form. So I thank you, and if anybody has any questions, you can feel free to talk to me in the ensuing time.